Hello, we're back for our final recipe, which is going to be plant-based okra soup and fufu. Now, okra, as I said in my intro, is a plant that is indigenous to West Africa. The shape of it there, it's a little fatter than the long skinny okra that you see here in the United States, but it is the same okra, and the Igbo name for okra is gumbo, hence that is where gumbo actually comes from. And in Nigeria and West Africa, a lot of soups and stews are prepared as main dishes. This is a very popular soup. It has a lot of vegetables in it. Okra in and of itself is a very nourishing vegetable. It's actually a fruit because it has seeds in it, but we always consider it when we're talking about okra as a vegetable. So it has a lot of things in it, like potassium. It has also some things that you probably wouldn't think that were in this, and I'm going to share that with you in a little bit. Also, with our okra, main ingredient, of course, and here it is, beautiful okra. We have, instead of meat, we're going to use mushrooms. We have our red onion, and we're going to have spinach. So 1 bunch of spinach, a pound of mushrooms, and a pound of your okra, and 1 onion. Those are our main things, but we're also going to be adding, when we're cooking it, a little bit of Nigerian palm oil for cooking. Typically, there's crayfish put in the okra soup that gives it one of the characteristic flavors, but we're going to use some kelp granules instead of that to kind of give it that still kind of fishy kind of flavor, but plant-based source through the kelp, which is seaweed, by the way. We're going to have some sea salt, and we're going to have some pepper and a little bit of our curry powder again. And then when we're finished with that, we'll make our fufu. We'll talk about fufu. So let's get started with the okra soup. First, we're going to take a pot, medium-sized pot here, and we're going to heat up about 2 tablespoons of oil of your choice. Again, I prefer to use sunflower oil when I'm cooking. And we're going to saute some onions. So here's my pot. It's stainless steel inside, even though it's red on the outside. And we're just going to heat that up. We'll put our mushrooms over here. We're going to slice those. And then we're also going to be cutting up our okra. So we'll put our onion over here and get everything set. So let's just set that up here for now, and we'll go ahead. And I've already kind of diced up these onions so that I don't have to do that, take up time to do that. We'll go ahead and we will put those in. And that was 1 medium to large red onion. Okay, we got our wooden spoon again, so we're going to go ahead and mix that in there. And while we're doing that, while we're getting that sauteed, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut up our okra. Now, this is one thing that's unique about how you cut the okra into small pieces. So we're going to take the top off of it like that, With a paring knife, we're going to take our knife and we're going to slice right down the center, and then we're going to go clockwise the other way. And once we have those 4 pieces, as you can see, we're going to start slicing it. Okay? So, I'm going to slice that right over here in this little container that I have. So you can see what you get is a lot of pieces that are all cut up. Let's do that again. Here's our okra. I'm going to take the top of that off. We're going to cut down the center. And again, the other way, crosswise. And then we're going to slice it. So, after you have done that, then what you'll end up with is nice diced up okra, like that. And you can put it in a blender too, but I think that brings the slime out of it, so it's better to have it nice and firm and crunchy like that, okay, from that method. Okay, I can smell the onions cooking. So now we're going to go ahead and dice up our mushrooms, and really you can just slice thick slices. Thick slices is okay if you want to do it like that. And wash your mushrooms before you use them, but not before you use them. And we're going to go ahead and put those in. So that's how we're going to slice our mushrooms, and I've already kind of sliced up a whole bunch of them already. So we're going to go ahead and add those in. And we're going to go ahead and cook that down. Okay. So if that was something like hen or some other meat, then you would cook that until it cooks down and browns. So the same thing with the plant-based protein source with our mushrooms. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to let that cook a while. And while we are allowing that to cook down, we are going to go ahead and dice up our spinach. Okay, so we have a bunch of spinach, and I don't know, I hope you can see me. It's coarse, you don't have to do it real fine. You can just take and dice them up like that, and then put that into a container. I'll get my container here back that I put in the sink. And so when we finish up, we're going to have nice pieces that are cut about that size, okay? Spinach doesn't take long to cook in this dish, so you don't have to cut them up real fine. So we'll go ahead, and while that's cooking, we'll go ahead and chop the rest of the spinach, which I pre-washed. Make sure when you get a bunch of spinach from the store that you wash it very well. Okay. Now 2 more and we'll be done with this. And you can use the stems too if you want. Some people don't use the stems, but they contain nice fiber as well. And spinach has some things. We all know spinach has iron, magnesium, potassium, but it also has things like lutein and zeaxanthin, and it also has a good amount of vitamin A. Now, mushrooms have other unique things like beta-glucans, for example. So it's a very nice protein source, but also has other nutrients. Selenium, also in there, biotin. So mushroom is a very nutrient-rich source of vegetable or fruit, if you call it what you want. Okay, so now we have everything really that we need cut up. So you can see how large the amount of spinach is I'll put in. And now we're going to go and check on our mushrooms. And they have cooked down very nicely. So, just like you were making any other stew, you're going to go ahead and once that has cooked down, you're going to put some water in there. So here we go back to my filtered water in my refrigerator. I'll be right back after this. Runs kind of slow out of here. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 2 cups of water in there so it can continue to cook. Okay, we got 2 cups of water in here now. And now we're just going to turn that heat up a little bit to about medium high and let that cook. Now meanwhile, while that's cooking, we're going to get a skillet, or I like to use this wok, and we're going to go ahead and cook our okra and our spinach. Get that moisture out. Now, palm oil has smokes very fast, so we don't want to have it in there too long. I actually have a bottle open over here, so I'm going to use that one. And I'm only going to pour about a tablespoon of palm oil in here. Okay, because you have the other oil from your mushrooms that you sauteed. So I'll let that heat up, and that's really enough to go and kind of coat this wok. And then once that heats up some, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our okra. Okay, so I'm going to check on this. This is boiling very nicely. Okay, and this is ready. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our okra. And we're just going to have it in here and stir and stir. And you will see that the red color of the palm oil is getting on the okra as it's cooking. Give you a little show of that. You can see how it's getting coated with the palm oil as it's cooking. And so once we have this in here, we're just going to keep stirring it. This is a very, very fast dish to make. And what you want to do, you want to let it cook until it starts to get soft and a little bit of the slime starts to come out. So cook it down until that time point. Okay. All right. The wok makes it nice because it's a heavy-duty kind of skillet for you to use. So we'll clean up a little bit while we're doing that. We're also going to add some seasonings. I'm going to add a teaspoon of sea salt to my mushrooms. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of curry. You can add more if you want. And let's go ahead and see how our okra is doing here. It looks great. You can see it's getting bright in color. Pop some of those out on the table, but here I'm going to show you one more time how pretty that looks as it's cooking. And then some people will put the okra in the soup like that. I kind of like to add my spinach in to that so that gets a little bit of the palm oil on it as well. That was a pretty large bunch of spinach, so I'm actually just going to use half of that, because you don't want the spinach to overwhelm the dish. So you can, bunches of spinach can be small, they can be large. This one happened to be a little bit larger than normal, so we're going to use half of that bunch. And we're just going to go ahead and let that cook. So we're cooking that right into the wok along with the okra. You lost a piece there. Turn it, cook it, and it just looks really wonderful. I'll show you in a second. Going to get this cooked down a little bit more before I show it to you. If you're putting the spinach in after you put the okra into the soup, then it doesn't have to cook very long. Just a few minutes and it'll be done. But here, I'm going to show you our combination in the wok of our okra and our spinach cooking. It's beautiful. It smells wonderful too. Okay, so what we're going to do next is going to add this mixture to our mushrooms that have cooked down now and they're ready to receive the okra. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to get my mitt so I don't get burnt. And I take that off and we'll just put this here. And we're going to go ahead and add this. You see I'm adding, okay, so that you can kind of get an idea what that looks like when it's being added. I'm going to hold up the pot for you so you can see, hopefully you can see how pretty that is as it's being added. I learned how to make okra soup from my sister-in-law, Umeakunne, a long time ago, and my son Chima's favorite soup, and everybody enjoyed her cooking. He said that her soup is so sweet. So here's to you, Susan. In terms of my cuisine, because I'm a plant-based person, I had to do some kind of modification so that I'd be able to enjoy this delicious soup as well. We're going to turn this down now, and we're going to add our flakes. We're going to add a teaspoon of the seaweed. Now, as you know, this is a great source of iodine for those who are looking to get that, but it also has a fair amount of potassium, 110 milligrams per teaspoon, and it has 50 milligrams of calcium. And a little bit of fiber, just a tad of fiber in it as well. So, good stuff. So we're going to mix that in. And so you kind of get that same kind of flavor you would get, not flavor, yeah, well, flavor and smell that you would get from your you know, people who eat meat adding crayfish to it. So here we are. We have our okra soup. Just gonna let that cook down a little bit more. But I'm gonna show you what it looks like. And then when we come back, we're gonna make the fufu to go with it. So okra soup. Plant-based. We're ready to make our fufu. And the fufu is starchy, usually made out of tubers, like your African yam, Nigerian yam, or Ghanaian yam. You can also make it out of cassava or plantains. But yam fufu is the traditional fufu for this dish, and it looks like a ball of dough that you pinch it off and use it to pick up your soup with your fingers to eat it. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this, I want to show you what the African yam looks like here and how you would make fufu with that. You would use your knife to cut this outer bark from it, and once you have done that, what you're going to find inside is this nice white yam that looks like potato but longer. So it is a tuber, and we're going to cut that. I'm going to cut that. I'll cut that over here so you can see. Into slices. Okay, so you can see now I've cut it into several slices. And we're going to boil that. Okay, I've washed this already, so I'm going to put it in a pot. And you're going to boil that. Now, there are other things that you can make with the yam. For example, when we made our jollof rice, when we made the sauce, you can actually boil yam and put a little bit of that sauce on top of it. And that's a great breakfast. So you can have that. We're going to go ahead and put that pot on and just let that cook. Also, I wanted to just say, because I'm making an alternative to the real okra soup, which has meat in it. Some don't like, for small children, it might have, you know, just crayfish or something in it, but as an alternative for myself, And for areas where you can't find these yams, or the plantains, or the cassava, although your tropical food markets all have powdered forms of those now, so it's very easy to make. I remember when, a long time ago in the 80s, when a lot of people were coming over to go to college from Nigeria, and they didn't have a lot of tropical food markets then, so people were using everything from cream of wheat to Bisquick even, if you can imagine how unhealthy Bisquick would be to have that as a side dish for your meal. But now that there are tropical international food markets all over, you can easily find the yams and can make authentic yam fufu or plantain or cassava fufu. So now, when the yams are cooked, then they're put into this big mortar pestle and pounded. Okay, that's how you traditionally would pound the yam. And some people will pound it, you know, for a long time, and it takes a long time, and it takes turns, especially when you're making a large volume for a lot of people. So instead of making the pounded yam fufu, I'm going to show you an alternative that I use, which I like, which a lot of West Africans also use, sometimes here as well, and that's semolina and potato flakes. So semolina is really high in protein. There's 13 grams of protein per 100 grams of semolina. It has a lot of potassium in it, iron, folate. It's really nutrient packed. So it's a good idea to use something like that if you're gonna use an alternative. And what I've done is I'm boiling some water here in this heavy skillet, and I am going to measure out a cup of my semolina, as you can see here. And I'm going to use this wooden spatula to make this. And I'm just going to pour this around in here. Okay? Since this has been boiling, I'm going to turn it down now because I'm going to be turning it so that I can get the fufu that I want out of there. Okay. Now, as you can see, I'm turning, and I've let this water boil for a while now, so I'm probably going to have to add some more, a little bit more water to it. But I'm going to turn it and turn it until I form a nice ball or dough of fufu, okay? So you have to beat it like that. And I'm going to add some water because I didn't have enough in there. So let me go ahead and get some water. And it's okay. A lot of times you have to do that when you're making this. So we'll add a little bit more. And that's so that we'll be able to turn it. And also add in the potato flakes. Adding in my potato flakes. And then now return to turning and forming this fufu. Okay. So I'm beating it like this and turning, beating and turning. Okay? Okay. I just need a tad bit more water in here, so let's get a little bit more So we'll be able to turn it. It's cooking as you're turning. And what you want to end up with is a nice smooth mass of fufu. So we're going to continue to turn ours. Until we get the consistency that we want. You don't want to have lumpy fufu. You want a smooth fufu, because when you pick up the soup with this, you're not going to chew it, you're going to swallow. So you pinch it off, dip it in your soup, and you swallow. And sometimes they call it swallow. Okay? So we're coming up nicely now. Even if it doesn't come out right, you keep working at it until you get it to be how you would like it. So here we are, we're turning, and we're almost there. Okay, and turn again. Okay, and so we're just about where we want to be with this. I'm going to show it to you in a second, what it looks like as I'm turning. And so, okay, I'm going to turn this off so that you can get a chance to see it. Okay, I hope you can see what the fufu looks like. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on a plate. Okay. And here we are. We have our fufu. Okay? And we're going to move this over here. Now we have our soup. So we'll go ahead and put our soup in here. So we have our okra soup.